There was a time when Commodore was at the top of its game, one of the most successful PC manufacturers in the world. They made the VIC-20, the C64, and the Amiga before going bankrupt in 1994. 1994. Let's just think about that. In 1994, VHS was still the predominant format for video. DVDs wouldn't be invented for another year. The first version of Netscape Navigator was released, and AOL had just begun to offer web access through their software. 1994 was a very different world in computing. Since then, there have been a handful of products released by companies that have called themselves Commodore, but which had only the faintest of connections to the original company. They created often derivative computers that were designed to make a quick buck by inciting nostalgia and convincing people that buying this product was a way to relive their childhood. Clickbait websites love this every time it happens. You see it all over. Commodore's back from the dead. New nostalgia-powered machines. Thing is, most of these resurrected Commodores focused on bringing new computers to an already crowded market, and all of them crashed and burned because they weren't bringing anything new. They were making Me Too devices, underpowered notebook component desktop machines running Windows, and they didn't have anything to do with the machines that the original Commodore made back in the 80s and 90s. Nostalgia or not, people weren't buying. This is a little different. This is a Commodore cell phone. It's called the Pet, and it runs Android Lollipop. It doesn't run some proprietary Commodore-branded OS, or GEOS, or Amiga OS, or anything like that. It's just plain old, vanilla old Android. And that's something that people complain about. They gripe about Android, and that it's somehow blasphemous for a company that's calling itself Commodore to make a cell phone that runs on Android. But I don't think that's really a fair criticism. I mean, after all, Apple used to make computers, and now a huge portion of its business plan is phones. Samsung also used to make computers, and now the cell phone business is what most people think of when they hear the name. Commodore made DOS-compatible machines as early as 1987, and the C-128 could run CP/M natively in 1985, long before Commodore's edge was starting to erode. Even the BASIC interpreter was sourced from Microsoft. So it only stands to reason that if Commodore, the business, was still alive, still relevant, and was still actually making things, then it would only be logical that they'd be in the same business as everybody else, which at this point seems to be producing some kind of a cell phone. So, the phone. Now, a lot of people are comparing this to the Orgtech Wah phone, and that comparison is not entirely undeserved. A lot of the underlying technology comes directly from the Wah phone. Paolo Besser from Commodore admitted as much in a September 2015 interview with us.
So we decided that, okay, they have the know-how, they have all the things that are needed to start with, and so we went for the ready design and a ready-made phone we have customized in many manners.
So it's really no surprise that there would be some similarities between the two. Both the Pet and the Orgtech Wah phone have 8-core or octa-core, 1.7 GHz, 64-bit ARM processors, and dual-core Mali T760 graphics processors. They have 13-megapixel cameras in the back and 8-megapixel front-facing cameras. They both have a 5.5-inch IPS screen at 1080 by 1920 pixels, which translates to the same resolution as an iPhone 6s Plus, but a little bit less than what you get in a Galaxy S6 Edge. The Pet does up the RAM from the WA phone's 2 gigabytes to 3 gigabytes, and increases built-in storage to 32 from the 16 gig of the WA phone.
Stop calling me!
And that also puts the specs firmly in the range of the Galaxy S6. Packaging is fine. It comes in one of those white cardboard boxes that everything seems to come in now. Ours arrived a little crushed, and I'm guessing that's because of how it was shipped. It comes with a basic instruction card and warranty information in both Italian and English. It has a regular white bread set of earbuds, the kind that don't stay in your ears no matter how hard you try to keep them in there, so you'll probably want to buy a third-party set as soon as you can. It also comes with a charger and a basic micro USB charging cable. Surprisingly, it also comes with a screen cleaner and a screen protector, something you'd normally have to get separately. Now, this is a European model, and I'm not European, so I can't tell you how well it makes calls, but really, that's not really the point of the phone. Just about every phone made can make phone calls. It can make a phone call from where you are as long as you've got a compatible network. Even the iPhone 4, with its wonky antenna, made phone calls. That's not the point. The point of this phone is about holding a phone that's got the Commodore logo on it. Having a phone by Commodore is kind of like owning a Jeep. When you have a Jeep, it's like you're in a club. You park next to other Jeeps, you wave to each other when you're driving, even when you don't know each other. It's nothing written, but everyone knows to do it, and that's the kind of thing you get with the Commodore phone. See, because iPhone people don't care about other iPhone users, and Samsung users don't care about other Samsung users. But if you've got a pet, if you see another person with a Commodore Pet across the room, yep, I acknowledge you. Let's talk about the phone some more. It's big. And when I say big, I mean that this really is a phablet, way more than it is just a smartphone. It's modestly smaller than an iPhone 6 Plus, but bigger than a Galaxy S4. And I guess the size sort of covers my general gripe that it's difficult to play games on a phone unless you have tiny hands. But it also makes the phone sort of annoying to carry. Like the 6 Plus, it's not going to fit comfortably in your pocket. Couple that with the fact that you'll probably want to put it in a case, and it makes it extra big. The back of the phone is made of really thin plastic, and it snaps into place over the battery and the SIM cards. This one has a tiny crack, and again, like the smushed box, it came to us like that, and I don't know if it's how it was packaged or if the post office is to blame. Either way, it's not really any different from the Galaxy, which also has a very thin plastic cover on the back. But because of this, you're really going to want to put this in some kind of a protector or a case, and I'm not even really sure that there is a protector or case that'll fit it. The phone has 2 SIM cards for cell reception. I can't test these because, again, I'm American and this is a European phone, but I'm told that the benefit of having 2 SIMs is to eliminate roaming and to be able to use different bands. Either way, it has slots for 2 SIM cards. It also has a slot for an SD card. Now, this is a 32 gig model, and I put a 32 gig SD card in it, effectively making it 64 gigs, which is one advantage that it does have over the iPhone, which has no expandability. It has a camera, and the camera works okay. It has a better field of view than an iPhone, but pictures have some cheap camera grain at full resolution. It reminds me a little bit of the camera in a $25 Go phone I got a long time ago, except that it's 13 megapixels instead of 3. It has a flash that's strangely not very bright and casts kind of a yellow tinge around the edges of the light. Video is okay. Again, it has a wider field of view than the iPhone, and in motion, the cheap camera grain isn't quite as noticeable. I made some comparison videos with both my iPhone 5 and the Pet, and I'd say they're probably about equal. The video on the Pet is a little shakier, but it does record audio in stereo, which the iPhone does not do. It also has a lot of software controls over exposure and white balance and stuff like that. So maybe you can finagle it into getting better pictures than I could get. Most of the software is just regular Android, with the normal Android annoyances, like reminding you that there are new open Wi-Fi networks every time you drive within half a mile of an open Wi-Fi network. I couldn't get Chrome to work, but Firefox was fine on it. It does regular phone or tablet stuff decently well. Again, it's big, and it's right at the point in between a phone and a tablet. So it doesn't quite feel right being used for day-to-day phone stuff, sending texts, web browsing, that sort of thing, because it feels strange to do on a phone so big. But it also doesn't quite feel right doing tablet stuff, like reading an ebook or writing notes, because it seems strange to do it on a tablet that small. Battery life is, I'm not powering cell antennas, and running purely with Wi-Fi, I got about 10 to 12 hours before really needing it to recharge. If you do anything more intensive like playing games, then you'll definitely see a difference. Some games really drain the battery quickly, which I guess is to be expected. Games work okay, and that's probably where this phone is at its best. It has a decent screen resolution, on par with the Galaxy S5 or iPhone, and it's plenty big, which feels nice being held horizontally for game playing, and way more like the PS Vita than something inconveniently big like the iPad. I guess we should talk about the emulators here. It has two emulators, Vice for Commodore 64 emulation and UAE for emulating the Amiga. You need to have disk images, of course, to do anything with either of these, and the usual problems related to trying to play keyboard or joystick-based games on a touchscreen device apply. I never really did figure out how to use any of them. And why doesn't it have a Pet emulator? I mean, the phone is called the Pet. The Commodore Pet was a computer produced from 1977 to 1982. It had a 6502 processor and a built-in monitor, and it was really big in education for a long time. And there are Pet emulators, and it wouldn't take much to modify them. Maybe I'm thinking too much about this. The Pet is available to buy from CommodoreSmart.com for a price of €349 and... Wait, what? 349 euros is about $392, which would be fine and well for a brand new phone with a brand new design, but and this is probably the biggest problem with the Pet. The WA phone on which it is based and with which it shares most of its specs was released in 2014 for only $145. Now, I've tried my best to come at this review with an open mind. There are a lot of people out there that are dismissing this phone outright because of the history of Commodore's name being abused and slapped onto all kinds of things, and I did my best to ignore that. After all, Commodore did rebrand Czech and German typewriters in their early days, so again, it's not something that would have been completely unheard of for the old Commodore to do. And the guys at this new Commodore were very forthcoming with us and talked to us and even sent us this unit to review So, beating it up for a purely arbitrary reason, such as it being a rebranded Chinese phone, doesn't seem fair. But asking almost $400 for a smartphone that is, at best, a mid-level budget device is a bit much when all you're really getting is the name and the ability to use the phone in other markets. Maybe this will change. As a mid-range phone, I wouldn't mind plunking down even $200 for this, even if the novelty is just the Commodore logo screen printed onto the disposable parts of the phone. When speaking to Massimo and Paolo from Commodore, the overall tone was that this was a starting point, an entry into the market, and they hope to make original designs down the road, and in that, I support them. Bringing a brand into a new market and trying to make it what it might have become had it not collapsed due to poor marketing and leadership, and doing this out of a reverence for the brand and not a desire to cash in on some established trademark is admirable. Keeping that kind of optimism in mind, we can see the Pet for what it is, a perfectly serviceable, if unoriginal, mid-tier smartphone that can pull double duty as a tablet and isn't so outdated as to be laughable. The fact that there's a Commodore logo on it really has nothing to do with the usefulness or relevance of the thing. Just pretend that OrgTech expanded their business to Europe and some company called Commodore got the franchise rights to distribute their products, and you can forget about the stigma that a blue and red chicken head usually brings to the tech sector, and focus on what the product actually brings. Maybe the price will drive people away, and that's understandable, but maybe that will also force a change in plans for Commodore, and we'll see something more interesting or more affordable come out of this, and the Commodore Pet smartphone can be filed away with other aberrations like the Ultimax or the Plus 4, products that, while well-meaning, didn't stick and ultimately led the way for better things.